The latest updates on today's breaking news. Mass murder at the country's largest military base at Fort Hood in Texas. A 39-year-old Army psychiatrist, Major Nidal Malik Hassan, allegedly entered a processing center on base at Fort Hood for soon-to-be deployed soldiers. The shooter killed 12 people and wounded 31 more. Contrary to earlier reports, the alleged shooter, Major Hassan, is not dead. He was shot multiple times, but is said to be alive and in stable condition. In a press conference that wrapped up a half hour ago, Fort Hood's commanding officer, Lieutenant General Bob Cohn, said that while terrorism cannot be ruled out, he says the evidence in this case does not suggest it was an act of terrorism. He says authorities are treating Major Hassan as a lone shooter. Earlier reports indicated the shooter used 2 handguns. General Cohn not refuting that earlier reporting, but adding that one of the handguns may have been a semi-automatic weapon. He said there is no indication that the weapons used were military issue. Even as General Cohn says that on-base security will be beefed up at Fort Hood, tomorrow will be a day of mourning. Flags in Texas will fly at half staff for the rest of the week. Joining us now is NBC's Pentagon correspondent Jim Miklaszewski. Mick, what have we learned this hour?
Well, Rachel, the military has an acronym for this, and it's snafu. I mean, it really was a stunning development to have that reversal in the information that first this alleged shooter, Nidal Malik Hassan, was killed, and then very late tonight, nearly 8 hours after the shooting incident itself, to have Lieutenant General Bob Cohn come out and say he was alive. In addition to that, they had also reported that a civilian police officer was killed. In fact, it was a female police officer who was the first on the scene to actually shoot the suspect and wound him before she herself was shot. She's undergone surgery and reported to be recovering tonight. Now, as we understand it, the suspect shooter, Nidal Hassan, was actually in the custody of Army criminal investigators all along. And the fact that he's alive may, in fact, help them determine what the motive was for the shootings to begin with. They've been questioning him all day, according to officials, but so far, he's not talking. Rachel.
Do we have any further clarity on the assertion by General Cohn that they are treating him as a single shooter? General Cohn, as far as I could tell, was saying that they had they had questioned more than 100 people at the scene, but they had detained 3 separate people at different times over the day today, and after talking to those 3 persons of interest, decided on this single shooter hypothesis.
And in fact, they kept the lockdown at Fort Hood for about 7 hours, nearly 8 hours, until they could positively determine that the third person they were seeking, until they had him in custody. They eventually did take him into custody. They opened up the base again. But again, as you say, it appears now that he, too, is no longer a suspect. And at this point, I've got to tell you, I'm not going to be confident until we see all this information in tomorrow's light of day and try to sort this all out. It's very confusing. I mean, it really does put a sort of a, black mark on the Army's ability to communicate and determine just what happened here. And until they have more time to figure out exactly what did happen, I'm not confident that everything we're hearing now is in fact.
Is there any way to sort of CSI the information breakdown here? Is there any way to tell why the information that we had was wrong for so long? Who might have been responsible for giving out the incorrect information?
Well, there's an old adage in the military that is absolutely correct. First reports are always wrong. But then there was a second report, a third report, fourth, fifth, and the idea that this suspect was shot and killed was perpetuated throughout the day. And if, in fact, at some point during the day, the military knew that he was still alive, they had plenty of opportunity to report that, but did not. The only possibility, in talking to some military officials, is perhaps in seeking out that third suspect, if that suspect, for some reason, thought the alleged shooter was dead, it may have been easier to track him down and find him. I have no idea. Hopefully, we'll get a better sense of it all tomorrow.
NBC's Pentagon correspondent Jim Miklaszewski, thanks for helping us cover this story tonight. Much appreciated.
Okay, absolutely, Rachel.